Right now I'm at Washington Square Park, and I just wanted to sit down and really go through some of the beginnings of when I started to question authenticity and what it meant to be oneself. And that was when I saw a really good, oh my god, I love this newsletter. It's called Aeon, and it talked about how to live authentically. More specifically, it looked at philosophers and their thoughts on what the true self is. And this article was really illuminating for me, not necessarily because I agreed with everything that it said, but because in reading it, I was able to form my own opinion, which really elucidated for me what I believe my core self or true self is. I think that a lot of the times the idea of authenticity and true self gets really conflated. Authenticity isn't necessarily the true self, but rather how much you're adhering to a true self, which I think is a little bit different. Heidegger, which was the first philosopher that came up in the article, believed that we are inherently inauthentic to ourselves because we are molded by society, and the only true self exists when we separate ourselves from community and who we are alone, essentially, what we think alone, what we do alone. And I actually completely disagree. Firstly, again, because like I said, I don't think that true self has to do with authenticity. There's a difference between finding out who you are truly and being true to that. So basically Heidegger said, again, that we can't really be true because that's only who we are when we're alone. And I disagree with that because I think that we're communal beings as humans. We're not meant to live alone. We're meant to exist as groups, and we interact with different people in different ways. But I don't think that just because you adapt yourself to who you are around and the society that you live in doesn't mean that you're necessarily living inauthentically. I think that it's still part of you. It's just a very different part of you. I think it's normal to adapt. I think it's normal to change depending on where you are. I think that's completely fine. I don't think that you're betraying yourself unless you are actively going against who it is that you usually are. If you're actively changing yourself for the worst, actively being different because you want to fit within the mold, of course, then you can say that you're living inauthentically. But if the way that you talk to your mom isn't the way that you talk to your best friend, I don't think that means that you're being inauthentic with your mom or with your best friend. And the way that you're with yourself versus the way that you are when you're in a larger group, I don't think that this is necessarily you being inauthentic at all. Heidegger did say, however, that there's the everydayness or the mundaneness of life makes a distance between us and who we truly are. And there I kind of agree, because I think that we often go into autopilot when we step outside and when we're just with other people. And I think that you being on autopilot removes the ability to really question whether or not what you're doing is what you truly want to be doing, or the way that you're presenting yourself is truly the way that you want to present yourself. Again, I don't necessarily think that being outside or being with others means that you are inherently not true. I just think that if you're not questioning, is what I'm doing right now truly resonating with who I am, I think then it can lead to a sort of numbness where you're just waiting through the days and all the days become similar to one another, and you're not really stepping out into the liberating feeling of true self-expression. That's why a lot of people, they'll wake up one day and they'll realize, like, what am I doing? Who am I? Why haven't I made any progress towards the person that I want to be? Because we live in this everydayness and this autopilot version of ourselves that's very distant from our authentic personhood. Though I think Heidegger had a point in saying that we're really molded by the society that we live in and the people that we're with, and that may have an effect on the way that we express ourselves. I don't think that it is an inherent obstacle to authenticity, to live in community with others, and to change how we act or change who we are when we're with different people. I think that authenticity has to incorporate the way that we relate to others and the way that we act around others. We don't exist in a vacuum. You didn't fall out of a coconut tree. Another point of view in terms of authenticity that was available in the article was talking about we are what we do. And this really, for me, made me realize how my crisis of self maybe was exaggerated, because I think that what happens to us / what we do isn't inherently core to who we are, but it enforces who we are. For example, I consider myself to be an active person, a healthy person, because I go to the gym quite often. But again, I'm ignoring all the times where I'm actually like, I don't want to go to the gym, or where I eat a lot and I eat junk. But that's because I'm only choosing the actions that consolidate who I am, and I'm agreeing with that. I don't think it's necessarily, I don't go to the gym, therefore I'm not a healthy person, or I go to the gym, therefore I'm a healthy person. And the thing to do with that is more to do with the commitment to being a healthy person. I think it's a little too black and white to consider what we do to be who we are, because then we can't take the entire context of ourselves. For example, I can't skip the gym today even though I'm sick because I have to be a healthy person. I think that creates really forced habits and this hardcore discipline that isn't necessary because you feel that you can't possibly stray from the self that you've constructed because you have to stay true to that. You have to be authentic to that. You always have to make sure that you're being this person or else you've lost yourself. That's not necessarily true. In fact, I believe more into French existentialism, which was brought up in the article, and the idea that there is no self, that self is a decision. It is an act. It is an illusion. It's a home that you return to when you're lost, like a little waypoint, a beacon. I don't think that it's something that is always the same and is static and that needs to be found. I think it's something that's really built. For me, what allowed me to resolve this question of what is my true self, what is the self that I want reflected back to me through the world by, if you believe in manifestation, through my manifestations or stuff like that, was when I decided that I am exactly who I want to be in the moment. If I decide tomorrow that I want to be not active, I can be not active. I don't know why I keep using gym examples. I am a much more complex person than someone who goes to the gym, I swear to God. But only being active can come to me, I'm sorry. If I want to be someone that's really well read tomorrow, I can decide to be that and embody that. That's who I am. If I decide the day after that I don't want to be that anymore, excellent, that's not who I am anymore. The self is really about choosing the list of things that you want to be and then embodying it and making sure that through the moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, you're always remembering, I want to be this and I want to have this and I want to make this kind of change in the world and have this kind of impact on people, and making sure that you are most of the time, not all of the time, because again, it can get really harsh and self-discipline and self-improvement-y in a way that makes you kind of paralyzed, and then you don't become that person because you're so afraid of doing something wrong and betraying the self that you've constructed. But apart from that, I think that if you have that self that you've constructed and you're most of the time adhering to that, that's good enough. Expanding on my thoughts and my beliefs of there being no self and the self being something that you kind of return to, I think that above all else, we are the observer. So I'm the person that's observing what I am doing. I'm the person that's kind of metabolizing my emotions and my thoughts and stuff like that, but I'm not necessarily my emotions and my thoughts. I'm the person who experiences it. That, I think, is the truest self. And then I believe my job as an observer, like I said, is to make sure that the self that I've constructed is being respected, that the self that I've constructed is being respected. And I think this is where the idea, I'm not sure if it's a necessarily Buddhist idea, but the idea of, or the spiritual idea of the ego comes from. So I think that I'm the observer and I'm seeing how I'm responding to everything through my ego. So for example, let's say that I'm really annoyed that someone's walking really slowly on the street, because especially in New York, the streets are always crowded, so sometimes people will be really slow. I am not the anger, I am not the person that's losing their mind because they want people to walk faster. I'm the one that's observing that emotion, and when I go to this observer state, I can see, where does this come from? Which part of this construct of self, or which part of my ego is making me experience this? And I realize, it's because I've told myself that I'm super impatient. And the reason why I think that it's not necessarily that I am to my core impatient, but rather that I've told myself that I'm impatient and that I've been, going with this narrative for so long, is because I hark back to a time where I was younger and I would have so much patience. Like I didn't care about waiting at all, and it's something that I've adopted through the people that are around me. I had a lot of impatient people, and then I kind of mimicked their behavior because I saw something in being impatient where I was like, yeah, you know what, this person is walking slow, and you know what, I have a right to my anger. You have to recognize that your emotions aren't core to you. Your emotions are a reaction that comes from the you that you've built. So my anger comes from the impatience that I've told myself that's inherent to me, it's inherent to my personhood. It doesn't have to be. But anyways, I'm kind of yapping a lot. Hopefully I'll be able to salvage some of the footage, because I think I've really gone on some tangents there. But the core of what I'm trying to tell you that I've learned is that you don't have to feel that you have to be a certain kind of way, or you don't have to feel that you're lost or doing something wrong because you haven't found who you are, found what you're supposed to do. You can be whoever the hell you want to be, and I mean this so earnestly. I mean, seriously, you can be whoever you want to be. It's really your choice. If your entire life you've been told that you're a certain way and then you've internalized that. I am here to tell you that literally tomorrow you can change that. Literally tomorrow you can be like, I don't want to be this anymore, and this isn't inherent to myself. And nothing is inherent to yourself, because like I said, there is no self. I can build this entire new identity, and that would be authentic to me. That would not be something that's unreasonable or something that can't be done. So if you're the kind of person that just kind of sits there and waits for things to happen to them, waits for things to change, and sometimes I go through phases in my life where I'm like that too, I want to tell you, you can't do that. It's not that you can't do that. I think that sometimes we do need a moment to rest, but hoping that all of a sudden something's going to come in and you're going to have this drastic change of self, that's not going to happen. It has to be something that you take into your own hands. It has to be something that you decide to do, whether it's now, whether it's later, whatever. It has to come from you, and no one else can do that for you. I think that authenticity, I think I mentioned this, is a commitment. I think it's about, even if you don't feel that everything is going out the way that you've envisioned, or if you don't feel that you're doing everything that you want to do, you still hold true to, this is who I am, because this is who I want to be, and I can be that person. I can be the ideal version of myself. I can be all that I say that I am, you know? Because I'll give you some more context into what my crisis of self was and why it happened, for this to make more sense. So I am someone who has always thought myself to be successful. I'm always the one that does well. I'm always the one that things come naturally to me, and I become lucky and successful in that way. And then all of a sudden, within a span of like a couple weeks, a month, every single thing that were my biggest and most important milestones in life fell through. So I was inherently unsuccessful, even though before that I'd only seen success. When it mattered the most, I was completely unsuccessful, completely failed. So then the world didn't reflect the person that I was back to me. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'm not successful, but if I'm not successful, who am I? And I realized that just because things didn't go well this one time, it doesn't mean that I'm not a successful person. I'm not a person that doesn't do things well. It just so happened that this wasn't part of my story. These successes weren't meant for me at that time. Maybe I'll have more successes in other areas or in another time, but you know, it doesn't mean that I have to disrupt everything that I think of myself just because one thing happened, or a few things, but just because of one era, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna go because it's starting to rain, but I do have more thoughts, and I will be back. What do you think you learned about yourself?
I used to be kind, young, and around 20. I understood by myself that started totally different and self-centered. I did not know that about myself. I didn't think I was. Because to me, I always associated generosity with gifts. But it's not
Very hot.
Questi qua sboccio step come
drinking sense. Si hindi po mo pamilya ang desisyon d'avoir un bon moral compass, parce que par minsan, I will beat myself for the it's gonna hurt me. I like the truth.
You have the starchy pesto, like pesto. Yeah, a lot. Bring us the food
I'm really honest. People don't like that, but I don't understand.
You like the heirloom or the special? What is it, grilled tomatoes?
It's coming in slices. We profile mozzarella in slices. It's basic.
There's a nice recipe.
Bring that.
Sure.
But in the end, everyone prefers it.
I had a conversation with my best friend, and she had at the beginning quite a strong stance that the self and who you are is based on your life experiences. Like you live through life, and then you kind of take lessons away from it. And I had really thinking about it, and made me realize that I had so many responses to this, and how I can really solidify the fact that I truly believe that there is no inherent self that's uniquely true apart from the part of us that kind of just observes all the things that the ego that we've constructed reacts to, and how it shapes the life that we have. So the first thing is that I realized that your life experience don't shape you. It's really your ego that shapes the way that you have a particular perspective on your life experiences. And I think this becomes really evident when you consider people that have similar experiences and similar things that have happened to them, like twins or even just siblings in general, and will be completely different. And also, I think that this idea that life happening to you is really what makes you who you are is based on a certain attachment to objectivity, in the sense that you have to recognize that the things that happen to you aren't just things that are happening. Even though you think that you're seeing your life experiences objectively because, oh, it's just stuff that happened, you're attaching meaning to it. You're attaching particular things to it. So it's inherently subjective. So it's inherently influenced by the ego construct, again, the structure of yourself that you've created throughout this time through your conscious decisions or unconscious decisions about who you want to be, or your attachment to things that other people said that you are. Also, because we're really just making conclusions or having reactions on our life experiences through the prism of the ego, that's why I'm saying that your life experiences are just evidence, whether you want it to be evidence that you're a beautiful person or an ugly person or a good person or a bad person. It's really just, you really just have like a collection of things, an amalgam of things that have happened to you, and yourself, or the construction of yourself, the fleshing out of yourself, comes from the things that you choose that are integral to who you are. I think I have a wonderful example, like the homeless man that I met, I think it was yesterday. So let me give you, this is not me bragging, by the way, because when I told it to my best friend, she was like, oh, listen to you bragging about the fact that you're blah, blah, blah. But no, it's really, I think it's an excellent example of how things can really be more of a gray area than black and white, and that's why I don't think life experiences are empirical evidence of who we are and make us who we are, So basically, I had the homeless man yesterday, and he had come out of the hospital. He was hungry, so he wanted to go to Wendy's or McDonald's. The Wendy's or McDonald's was too far, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll get some cash for you because I don't have any more cash. And then I went to a restaurant, asked the manager like how far is the ATM. He said it's not too far. I go, it's like pretty far. It's like a good 15-minute walk, and it was like still like it was raining all of a sudden, so I was like really frustrated, and I wanted to go pee, and like I had so many things I had to go do, and I was losing time, and I was like, you know what, let me just push through, because the homeless guy kept saying, oh, it's right there, oh, it's right there, oh, it's right there. No, it wasn't. It wasn't for like a good 15 minutes. So then I finally get to the Chase Bank. I pull out some cash. I'm like, okay, I'll pull out $10 US. And then instead of giving him $10 US, I give him $5 US. So already here you can say, either you can take the fact that I went through a little bit of a hassle. It wasn't that big of a deal. I'm going to be honest. A little bit of a hassle to get this man some money. You can say that I'm a good person. Or you can consider the fact that I had $10 US, and that obviously you can't buy a meal in New York for $5 US, like a real meal, when you're really hungry, and I only gave him 5. So then I'm a bad person. But let's add even more context. The reason why I only took out $10 US and only gave him 5 was because I was given at the beginning of the day, because I already had MetroCard charged, and I told my mother that I was only going to be going to like cafes. She was like, okay, if you're only going to cafes, here's $20 US. This is like how much you should be spending before I meet up with you in New York. And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I ended up spending the entire $20 US. So then I was taking out even more money, and I felt guilty. So in my head it was like, I'm not only taking out more money, I'm gonna come back to my mom, I'm gonna be empty-handed with the extra money that I took out, so I can't give him the full $10 US. So then more context: am I a bad person or am I a good person because I'm listening, being considerate of my mother, or am I a bad person because we can go without another $5 US and I didn't give it to the homeless man? But then there's another context. Why is it that I lost? I didn't have my $20 US anymore. I'd actually only spent about like $6-7 on myself at Muji. The rest of the money I had given to diverse homeless people. And this is when you can go, there's like a whole jumble of things you can just think about and think about and think about, okay, this says that I'm good, this says that I'm bad, this says that I'm insecure, this says that I'm confident, this is etc., etc., etc. So the deciding factor really is you and who you want to be. I want to be a good person, and it's really important to me to be a good person. So even though if I could go back, would I change how I reacted? Yes, I would, but that's what I did in the moment. I'm still going to continue with I'm a good person. And then I think this idea of objectivity and clinging to objectivity when it comes to finding reasons as to why we are the people that we are comes from a very human need to categorize other people and to find comfort in having people be black and white. Like, bad people are inherently bad people, good people are inherently good people. And this has a lot to do with the fact that traits exist as polarities, like either good or bad. You're either generous or selfish. You're either selfless or self-centered. And not only does it come from the very human need to categorize people into these distinct boxes, but I think that also when we try to find ourselves, we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to be wrong in the sense that we want others to accept what we've projected that we are. It's not just who we conclude that we are, but who we want other people to see us as. So we look for these objective, unmalleable truths, these never changing truths about ourselves, but that doesn't exist. We want the self that we construct to be accepted by other people. So that's why sometimes you'll have someone who's really insecure and doesn't believe that they're beautiful. And it's hard for them to just make this leap of their self-concept or their ego where, you know what, I'm a beautiful person, because of the fear of how it will be handled, how their presentation of self will be handled by other people. Like, you know, it's embarrassing to be like, oh, I'm so pretty, and then you have everyone around you be like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, 100%, yeah, no. And it's sad. It's sad to have people not see you the way that you see yourself. So that's why we try to look for this objectivity when it comes to self that doesn't exist. You know, I think what's really important in those circumstances is to understand that we do not get to exercise full control in our image of self that we project to others. We don't get to control it, and it doesn't mean that other people are wrong or that we're wrong. Both people can be right, because again, the truth of who we are is not objective. If one person makes a conclusion about you, first of all, it has nothing to do with you. It has really nothing to do with you, because like I said, you experience things, and in the same way that you experience things through the prism of your ego, you experience people through the prism of your ego. So when you formulate an opinion on someone, it says more about you than it might say about the other person. For example, let's say that one day you're having a really bad day and someone comes up to you for help and you're like, you know what, fuck off, like actually fuck off, like I don't want to talk to you, you're so annoying, leave me alone. And then that person will have the idea that you're horrible, like you're mean, you're inherently mean, and you're ill-tempered, but then they don't know that this was one out of the 99 days when you were super kind and super open and super warm, and like, I don't know, your dog just died. So their perception of you isn't inherently wrong because you are mean to them. You were being mean to them. But your perception of yourself, based on the fact that you know that those other 99 days were great, isn't wrong either. So really, I think that's why I talked initially about how it is crucial that in our understanding of who we are, we consider the way that we interact with other people. Because though we can decide to be a particular person and to embody that person, we cannot obsess over the way that other people view us. And I think that's why I had my crisis of self, because it wasn't just like, oh, I don't feel like I'm successful anymore, I feel like I've lost touch with a successful part of myself. It was, well, now people are going to think I'm not successful. The most dreadful part of it for me was having to tell other people, well, yeah, I know that I thought that this was going to happen in my life, but turns out no, because I failed. And that people could even have an inkling that, oh, well, maybe Tyler's not successful. That was incredibly, wow, it was terrifying for me, truly terrifying. And next I'll say that to concede to the point that my best friend was making about life experiences and importance to who you are, I think that the role that life experiences play is that they force you to introspect. They force you to question, is this who I am? Is this who I want to be? But my point, the thing that I'm really trying to dig or force into your brain, is that you should be doing that every day. You should be introspecting every day. Not like intense reflection, but you should be thinking, on a micro level, not just a macro level, on a micro level, are my decisions, are my actions, is the way that I'm portraying myself, is my essence, is my whatever, or is my people around me, is it reflective of the self that I want to be, the self that I am building out, and the self that I am now committed to? All the time, all the time. It shouldn't take something huge to happen to you for you to, there we go, I've made a change. There we go, I'm getting back aligned with who I've always wanted to be. You should be questioning yourself every single day to have that authenticity. You should not yield to the everydayness, the autopilot, all of that. You should really be curious about yourself and attentive to where you're going as a human being. I'll end with key takeaways. I know that I said a lot. So authenticity is about commitment to a particular self. The self, there is no objectively true self that exists when others aren't there or whatever. There is none, in my opinion. And if we were to search for one, it would be your observational state as a human being, your experiential state as a human being, where you're only looking at how you're experiencing things, how things are happening to you, and how you're reacting to them and how you're feeling. It would be something like that if we had to pick one thing. And I think maybe lastly, I feel like I might be forgetting something, but lastly, what's really truly important and what ties in with the next section of this video is that the self can't be constructed without taking into consideration how you exist in the community. Oh, I remember what I forgot. I forgot that authenticity is not possible on autopilot. Be perpetually curious and perpetually introspective. I'm headed back home because, back to my phone. I'm headed back to where I'm staying because I'm obviously not allowed to bring professional camera equipment to concerts, which is really unfortunate. So I have to drop it off there, but I have a problem because the Barclays Center is considerably far from where I'm staying at. So my phone battery's at like 11%, and obviously the concert's going to be going on for a while, plus I have to get there pretty early, and I have to meet up with someone at the end, and obviously I want to record Childish Gambino. Oh my god. So like the last time I'll ever see him perform, and the first and last time I'll ever see him perform. So I need to figure out how I'm going to be able to get home, drop my stuff off, and also charge my phone while getting to the concert on time. So don't worry, I'm still gonna obviously record footage, but it's gonna be phone footage, which means the quality's not gonna be that excellent, especially because it's gonna be in low light. But I'll do as much as I can. I'll do as much as I can. So obviously I've been fundamentally changed as a human being. The post-concert depression is going hard. Seeing Childish Gambino just in person, singing all of my favorite songs, like it was truly wild, and I was so close to him. I was so close. I was so close. If you'd like to see more clips, because obviously I can only show like a limited amount of the concert for copyright reasons. Also, I don't want the video to be too long, and I feel like it might be. So if you want to see more of the Childish Gambino concert, I posted so many more clips onto my social media, and I also have like a really cool photo. I was actually surprised at how good some of the photos were, because again, all on my iPhone 14 with a messed up camera. Some of the pictures are really great, so if you'd like to see that, again, that's on my social media, as well as other little extras of what I've been doing in New York City. But moving on from how my life has peaked and is only going to be downhill from here, I'm currently at the Tin Building. It's so pretty outside, but I'm gonna try and make this section or chapter as quick as I possibly can because of video length, and I feel like the other parts are really long, and because it is so hot outside. It is literally so hot. Like I can't be outside anymore. I need to leave. So, comparison. Talking about comparison was important to me for this video, I think, because a lot of people see it as an obstacle to authenticity, and I don't think it's entirely true. I think that when it comes to comparison, it's natural. It's natural. I think people keep saying, oh, stop comparing yourself to others. I don't think we are capable of not comparing ourselves, because we do that as human beings. I think it's maybe instinctual, a survival tactic where we're making sure that we're following our peers. We're making sure that we're still fitting in within our peers, because not fitting in from the beginning of time, or the beginning of human existence, has been synonymous with death and being left alone and not surviving as a species. So we are really, like I said, a communal species or a social species. I think, however, what the issue with comparison is how toxic and obsessive it can get, and how people speak about jealousy as if it's this horrible emotion, that's ugly emotion. A, it is natural and completely understandable, and B, I think that comparison is an important tool to authenticity, because what it's telling you is that there's something within the person that you're comparing yourself to that you would like to embody, that you're missing out on, that you would love to do. So if you're like, I don't know, scrolling through social media and you're seeing someone that's going to so many different places in the world, and you're sitting there like, oh, well, I don't do that, I can't do that, like how do they get to do that? Maybe what the lesson is that you should be going out more, you should be having more fun, but you've become so recluse. I think that comparison is so important to stepping into yourself and really having that ego construct that you think is the best for you and that you really, really want to be. So you're really not a bad person for comparing yourself. It's just if you stay in that mental anguish or that mental spiral of, oh, I wish it was this person, I wish it was this person, you kind of lose yourself. Because then it's no longer about a lesson, or it's no longer about you embodying a particular trait that you see in someone else. It becomes an obsession over that person and why it is that you're not that person, and why it is that you can't be that person, which is really unfortunate, because I think that everyone should feel really comfortable with who they are. And I think there's another thing about comparison that I wanted to approach, which is that, I mean, obviously, talking about the self and developing the self, improving the self, is an inherently narcissistic idea. And this is, I guess, less comparison, more relationality, relativity, whatever the word is. But when you look at other people and try to differentiate ourselves from other people, it crafts our sense of self by saying, well, this is the ways in which I'm not you, and this is the ways in which you're not me. And that idea of not being like other people, that idea of being inherently special, that's really, I think, badgered into us throughout media and throughout even our childhoods, with like childhood media of you're unique and you're special, or you're not like other girls. It's individualistic, and it works against the nature of our society, where we are meant to work together and we are meant to be together. Letting go of the idea that I am special for any kind of reason of who I am has been so freeing for me. Of course, I will always say that I am unique, because I don't think there's any other person that is exactly like me. But I don't think I'm inherently special or better than anyone just because of that. You know, and I feel like sometimes we have to feel like we're better than people so we can feel that we'll make something out of ourselves, because if you're not special, why are you here? If I'm not more than anyone, what's the point of my existence? I think that's really something that's woven within the climate of our society, of our media, that we have to be the protagonist, that we have to be the main character, et cetera, et cetera. But seeing myself as any regular human being and not kind of putting any pressure on who I have to be and how I have to surpass everyone else and how I have to be different or be remarkable in the sense that no one else is, has been really helpful to me being authentic to who I am, because then I can just relax into it. I'm not stressed anymore, I'm not pressured anymore. I can just be Tyler, and Tyler doesn't have to be absolutely extraordinary. Of course I have big dreams and big goals, but I don't have to see my story and my narrative as being, as existing independently to everyone else's, as being the one that matters the most. I think that seeing other people as exactly like me, as, like having a life's mission the same way that I do, and being special the same way that I am, and, or not special, but being unique in the same way that I am, and having meaning in the same way that I do, really creates like a wonderful feeling of we're all in this together, and we can all be our unique selves without competing and putting each other down through comparison. Because I think that, oh my God, within a capitalist society, I know that people get annoyed with that phrase, but I'm dead ass. We really feel like we have to step on others and have a self that is better than everyone else's, so that we can be noticed, we can be seen, we can be understood, we can be successful, we can be wanted, we can be loved. We have to be what everyone else is not. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's counterproductive to us coming together as a people, and us helping each other as a people, and us living in harmony with each other as a people. So I think it's for authenticity when it comes to comparison, two things. A, don't get angry at yourself when you feel jealous, or don't get angry at yourself when you compare yourself to someone else. Think about what it is in their life, or what it is about themselves that you would like to incorporate. And then when it comes to, feeling special, and of course I'm not telling you that you should not feel like you're important, but remember that everyone is here for a reason, not just you. Everyone is here for a reason, and you don't have to put a pressure on yourself to not be like everyone else, because it's amazing to be like everyone else. It's amazing that we all cry and laugh and experience joy and want to love, and all of those beautiful things that are core to the human experience. It's amazing that we all get to go through this together, and I think it connects us in a greater sense, and it puts a lot less negativity. It removes the negativity in the process of being authentic to ourselves, because we don't have to be, we don't have to demarcate ourselves so hard. We can just live in the moment and exist and be with other people. So I'm going to see whether or not I can go to Central Park, and then I'm going to try and grab a nice bite to eat, because I have not been eating properly at all, because again, my sleep schedule is so messed up that like I'm only eating lunch and then dinner, and that's it. So I'm going to try and like actually have 3 proper meals. And oh my God, I almost forgot to mention this. I had my first celebrity spotting today. Literally, I thought about it this morning. I was like, I've been in New York for like a couple days now, and even before when I was in New York, people come to New York all the time. And still, I've yet to see a single celebrity, even though I feel like you would see them in New York. And I saw, well, maybe not one celebrity, I guess like 2 or 1.5. I say 1.5 because I kind of see them as a unit, but I mean, they're their own people, they're 2 different people. But I saw Joe Jonas and Frankie Jonas, and I was like really confused on what was going on, because no one had a reaction. Not in the sense that like no one wanted to bother them, because like, oh, the New Yorkers are so used to seeing them, because I genuinely think that I was the only person that realized that they were celebrities and that they were here. I'm thinking because no one else really looked at them, or no one else really said anything. Hey, was walking the wrong way the entire fucking time, so that's just excellent. Anyways, back to the story. So I think definitely the baristas recognized who they were, but no one else. And I didn't approach them, I didn't say anything, didn't do anything. Not because I'm like better than anyone for not doing that, because I've been really contemplating a lot celebrity culture after the Chapel Road video and subsequent videos of other like influenced celebrities regarding how they're approached and treated like zoo animals. So I was just like, you know what, they're just people trying to have a coffee and chill with their friends. They don't need me harassing them, because I'm like a big Jonas fan, so it didn't really matter to me. But I was like, you know what, it's really nice that I got to be in New York and be part of the like, I don't know. I guess I've always seen New York as somewhere where like so many famous people are, so many fashion people are. So it was really nice to experience that in person, but I didn't really do anything about it at all. Alright, so my weather app assures me that there's not going to be a drop of rain anytime soon. So I'm going to hope and pray and beg that it doesn't start raining because I'll be really frustrated. Even though I'm well covered under this beautiful tree, it's kind of like, it's not a weeping willow, but I love weeping willow. Oh my god, I love weeping willow. Anyways, it's not a weeping willow, but it does kind of like bend down, as you can see, and it kind of like protects me. So if it does start raining, I could probably keep recording for a bit and then leave. But anyways, I've spent a lot of my life, and still now, because I haven't perfected this, I haven't rectified this in any particular sense, trying to always figure out what is the right decision, what is the correct decision, what is the best way to go about something. That's why I've really, really ruminated on intuition and what it means about intuition. Is it like a tingle in my ear? Is it like a feeling in my gut? Is it, when my brain tells me I want to do something? Is it when I see like a weird sign that tells me you should go towards this or you shouldn't go toward this? And I've been thinking so much about it because I've always been a little bit all or nothing. So I always assume that there's only one right thing. It's not that I would assume that there's only one right way to do things. It's that I always want to do them correctly. In whatever different right ways there are, I want to follow always the proper path that leads me to things that I want. And I want it to be a clear path, a direct path, not one where I have to like stray from, my goals or be beaten down or have troughs and peaks and valleys and whatever. I want a clear path to what I want, and I want to be able to find the decisions that get me on that right path and that keep me on that right path all of the time. I always would rack my brain over decisions. And paradoxically, it does not necessarily mean that I am in any kind of way indecisive. I decide things really quickly. It's not about whether or not I'm good at taking decisions, it's how good I am at feeling confident in my decisions, having a security in my decisions. And I've kind of found that intuition lies a lot in, or rather, it's not that I found what intuition is. It's not that I've discovered that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll say that to you straight away. It's more so that I've realized why it is that I felt so disconnected from my intuition, and that's because I am a person that really intellectualizes my thoughts. Yeah, I fucking sure hope you do. No, I mean intellectualizes my emotions. So I'm always rationalizing things, like I'm always aware that I'm anxious or aware that I'm sad or aware that I'm angry, but never really sitting with that, reckoning with that. There was a point where I would literally schedule the amount of time I was allowed to cry for things. Because I live life so fast-paced and because I always have a lot of things that I want to get through and a lot of goals that I want to achieve, I kind of put everything else on the back burner. So I tried to mathematize, and I tried to create a formula for betterness so that I wouldn't actually have to do the deep work. I would just be like, okay, from this time to this time you're allowed to cry because crying is important and you have to get out of your system, blah, 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 because there's that side effect if you don't cry, etc., etc., but I was never sitting in it. And to all the overthinkers out there, and maybe I'll make a whole video just on this topic because I could, there's so much to go into it. I realized it literally clicked for me like one night. It's so simple. Literally just feel your emotions. Go into your body. Like when I touch a leaf, how it feels, the same way, feel that in your body when you're having a particular emotion. That is how you can feel things. Because at some point I was like, I feel so, not numb, as if I was unhappy or not okay with my life, but numb in the sense that all of my emotions were in my head, but I would never truly know how I feel. I would never feel how I feel, and I started getting frustrated, and then I realized I just had to stop being, all of my attention was in my mind and not on my body and how my body feels. And when I dropped down to my body, I realized that I am so much more of an anxious person. Anyways, this is a little bit of a tangent, but again, intuition and feeling things, whether something makes you happy or a decision makes you sad, it's really in your body. And I feel like intuition has a lot to do with authenticity in a way that people maybe don't usually think of, because in the realm of always wanting to find the right thing to do, I've wanted to always make sure that I'm doing right by myself, that I'm always following what's meant for me, always doing things that resonate with my identity and my construct of ego. So having a good intuition, understanding what decision is more you, or rather the you they've constructed, finding out what decision is more. So my mic died, but no worries, because it's going to be another clip where the audio is working fine. That's because I realized that my mic was dead. And what I missed, which is important for the context of the next clip and just tonally for what I'm talking about, is that intuition is a chapter in this video, and it's called authenticity because it influences the decisions that we make. And it's important to make decisions that you always feel are true to yourself and true to the person that you want to be and true to the life that you would like to have. And then right before I restarted and made this clip, I talked about how, in actual fact, intuition doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be making the perfect decision in every single case, that you're not going to make a mistake. Because sometimes, obviously, again, like I said, intuition is linked to authenticity, meaning that if you follow intuition, you are most likely always being authentic to yourself because you're always thinking about whether or not something is true to you. However, a bad decision can be true to you. A mistake can be true to you. And that mistake might be important to get you to the place that you need to be the person that you want to be. So in the following clip, what I was picking up from was stop agonizing over making the right or the wrong decision. Just go out and do the things that excite you, and if they turn out to go wrong and to not be the thing that you were supposed to do or you think that you were supposed to do, it doesn't matter. It was meant to be on your journey. Testing. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Okay. So, unfortunately, my mic died, but I was talking about how, just fucking, go out and do things. Of course, intuition and making sure that you're doing things that feel right for you is important, but don't overthink yourself into oblivion where you're paralyzed, you're not doing anything. Just go do it. And if you make a mistake, then who cares? It's inherent to your life experience. It's part of who you are. It's part of having that mistake and then reflecting and then realizing that you want to change a particular part of who you are. It doesn't matter. Just go out and do it. Literally every single micro decision, ask yourself, is this truly what I want? Is this truly bringing me joy in this very present moment? And I promise you, it will always lead you to the person that you want to be, and it will always reconnect you to who you are and lead you to get the things that you want to get. Even dumb stuff like, do I want to listen to this song or that song? Do I want to have this for breakfast or that for breakfast? Do I want this dress or that dress? Do I want to have this friend or that friend? Literally anything at all. Always ask yourself, does this feel good emotionally when I think of myself doing this or when I am in the process of doing this? And I think having that perspective is also really good for bettering just your general well-being in life, just the quality of life that you have, coming in with the perspective of, you know what, yeah, I'm frustrated that this is happening, I'm frustrated that my decision to do this has led to something that I did not prefer in my life, but this means something. I don't want to be one of those people that will go on and on and on about how every single hardship is a lesson and you have to see the lesson, and not recognize that hardship will cut deep. It will. It definitely will. But you, a couple of days earlier, before making the decision that led to that hardship, thinking about whether or not to make the decision over and over again, isn't going to change the inevitability that you are going to face difficult things. An example, even though it's not a major example, but a minor example that's happening to me was today. I chose a particular cafe that I want to go to because it felt true to me in that moment. And I was like, I really want to go to this one. I think it's really cute, it's really fun. I went there, they had no more food left, and I hadn't eaten at all, and it was 3 p.m. and I woke up at 9 a.m. and I had not eaten, and I was like, I am starving, I am so pissed, why did I come here? This is I wasn't that angry because I got to buy some books at the bookstore, but I was so angry because then I found out that there wasn't even really good Wi-Fi and I had a task that I had to complete on my computer, so then I had to head to a different cafe, and I made a friend. I went there and I made a friend, and I was so happy because I had a goal that I wanted to make at least 3 friends in New York, and that today, when I went to that coffee shop, I met the 3rd person that I would have become friends with, and I was so happy because, and even when I was angry, that's when I stopped for a moment. I was like, you know what, maybe this is important because maybe this is where I have to be to get things that I want to have and to have the life that I want to have and to be the person that I would like to be. I think a lot of people struggle with letting go of overthinking when it comes to figure out what's best for you and what's true to you, because it requires a deep security and confidence in oneself that's beyond superficial, beyond just going in the mirror and saying oh, I'm pretty, you're hot, I'm sexy, I'm kind, I'm eating it up. Truly, you have to believe in your own capabilities, your own resilience, your own decision making, your own pathway in life, and that confidence has to be so deep it surpasses the massive fear of doing things wrong or fucking up in a way that's irrevocable. And that's meaningful, and that's difficult, and that takes a while to build. For me, it's I'm still building trust with myself.
which a lot of people don't even realize they don't have. Like it took me like a while to be like, wait, hold on, like I don't trust myself. I only trust the things around me. I trust that, you know, everything I'm doing is correct until the world or life or someone else confirms to me, yes, what you did is correct. Here is a reward. Here is a result of your good decision. I don't trust in myself to believe that even though I did something that was authentic to me, that was the best thing to do, you know? So yeah, I think it's something that's hard, but I think it's something that's doable once you recognize that it has to be done. And that's why I wanted to talk about intuition and how important it is to authenticity and being oneself and living out life as one would like to live it. The thing that's interesting, and that if I weren't to explain it as I'm going to explain it later, would seem to be contradicting what I said previously, particularly in the first section, about what the self is that I think that there is something ineffable about our intuition and the particular inclinations and things that we want to do. And I think that's where the search for who you are should be. But I think that's something that doesn't have to be defined. That's where things get a little complicated and muddy and hard to understand. But I do think it's true. Even though, again, I don't think there's a true self. I think that the self is constructed. And it's actually really funny because I went to the bookstore that I told you about that didn't have any food in the cafe. And there was actually a book, I think it said The Future of the Self. If you're interested in reading, I'll remember what it is and I'll put it somewhere on the screen. And literally I opened up the synopsis because I was interested because I was like, oh, like, what a coincidence. And it literally said, the author literally said exactly what I've been reiterating throughout this entire video, the fact that there is no self and that it's malleable and changeable and in your control. But still, I think that there is something interesting about our tendencies as individual human beings and how those tendencies and desires and whims differ from one another.
I'm really just enjoying Central Park because I actually I've come to New York a lot before, and I've come to Central Park and we walked around and I was like, this is it? Okay. Yeah, no, okay. But I don't know, maybe I've come to like a different part of it because I didn't realize how big it was until after I'd left that particular trip. And now that I've come to like a different section, it's really gorgeous and I'm really, really appreciating it. I'm gonna head out because it's getting dark and I'm a young girl, so I don't want to be playing these kinds of dangerous games in a foreign country. I need to get home before like it gets like deep nightfall. One of my absolute favorite things to do is to spend time not by myself but with myself. So I went to this really nice restaurant called Suther that serves Thai food, and I found that going out into the world and approaching life with openness and wonder and even reckless abandon opens up so many doors for fun and opportunities and making new connections. Like even the bartender here, we started to have a conversation and we actually had a surprising amount of things in common. Like we both wanted to start a YouTube channel and we talked a lot about that while I was enjoying this really nice Thai fried rice. I know I've spent the entire video talking about how there isn't necessarily a truest self, so it might seem that what I'm about to say is a little contradictory, but I'll explain. So though I don't think that there is a truest self, I think that we do have something called nature. So I've talked a lot about, the things that you want to do, the person you want to be, what feels good in the moment, what doesn't feel good in the moment. But I think it's hard to find out, why we prefer one thing or the other. Like, why people prefer chemistry and not biology, and why they want to be one person and not the other, and why they want to do one career and not another, or a particular hobby. I think that's where the search for the elusive truth of who we are and the reason for our existence stems from, why we have certain inclinations or proclivities and stuff like that. I thought about this a couple days ago, or a couple weeks ago, I suppose, and then I wrote it down, and I feel like that version of myself as if it wasn't like a couple weeks ago, I feel that what I wrote down really fully articulated what I mean to say. So I'm gonna read it out. I think self is who you are and nature is who you ought to be. It's not necessarily your truest self because you might not be aligned with nature at every given moment, but rather your ego construct. But it's the you that you should return to, the you that exists effortlessly without resistance. Nature can be found in your inclinations, who you're inclined to be, what you're inclined to do, etc., etc. It's really on the question of nature that people start to think in circles, especially if you're not religious, because I feel like if you're religious, you could easily say that, why you want to be a singer and not a neuroscientist is because that's God's plan for you. That's what God wants. So once you're not religious or not determinist, where again you think that there's particular things that you're meant to do in this lifetime, it's hard to find the answer of truly what is your nature. And there's even more added difficulty when you try to be able to differentiate whether your inclinations and your desires are intrinsic or extrinsic, a result of your traumas or a result of other people's influences. In the end, I honestly don't think that what nature is or rather where it comes from matters. I think what matters most is how do you work with it? How do you exist in harmony with it? And to that, I think that the key is curiosity. To ask yourself, what are the motivations behind the action that you do, or what are the motivations behind the wants that you have? And if you dig and dig and dig and find, because I was younger, or because this person, because things that exist outside of you, then you know that it's not in your nature. And this is what the second part of my video is going to be about. It's about things you can tangibly do in your life to start really getting closer to that nature, and not only but be able to express it in a way that helps you better navigate the world and connect with people in the world, because people just become brought in by who it is that you're showing yourself to be and the energy that it is that you're emulating. And it's not going to be, I really don't want it to be a self-improvement video, because I think that there's a lot of there's some I love self-improvement videos, like I watch them 24/7, so this isn't me dogging on them, but I think there's a little bit of shallowness to some of the things that are said in that community. So I don't want to see it as self-improvement, like you have to change who you are, there's something inherently wrong with you right now that you have to fix. I don't believe in that necessarily. It's more so about expansion and development and understanding yourself more profoundly. So by this point of the trip and by this point of my video, I was exhausted. So this part just becomes pure yap, and it was so bad that I couldn't edit it to make it sound cohesive. I had to just cut out the sound, and I'm doing a voiceover. So basically what I was trying to say was that the second part of the video, this can happen in France, by the way, is not going to be something that's about harshness and self-discipline and always maintaining a particular standard, but really just about going deeper so that you don't live superficially, either superficially in the way that you communicate yourself, the way that you uplift yourself, the way that you get to know yourself. It's really about becoming more inquisitive about who you are as a human being. And then once you've cultivated a stronger sense of self, finding outlets through which you can express yourself in a very authentic, raw way. And if you'd like to get notified of the new video, you can subscribe and hit the notification bell. Also, an aside, I know that this video has been more advice than vlog, and from what I've seen of the footage that I have for France, I think it might become more vlog than advice. But what I would love is to hear from you so that I can know whether you guys prefer videos that are more on the vlog side or the advice side, or a little bit of a balance in between both. And I would also obviously appreciate any other feedback, so comments and questions that you guys might have for me. So if you've clicked onto this video, you're probably lost or confused, or you feel that in some kind of way you're not enough, and I want to tell you, be gentle. Give yourself grace. You have time. You don't have to be agonizing over this. Some flowers blossom in the spring and others in the summer, but all of them are equally as beautiful. And they all have their time, and you will have yours. You are exactly where you need to be, and it's not because I'm saying that there's a plan for you necessarily, because truth be told, I don't know. You are exactly where you need to be because there is nowhere for you to be. There isn't anything that you have to be striving for, because life is random and it's fucking weird, and sometimes it's sad and sometimes it's great, and it's arranged in such a way that we can do literally anything we want. So if you want to take the next couple weeks, couple months, couple whatever, to just retreat and think more about who you are, just because you want to spend that extra time, I invite you to do so. And again, I invite you to do so while being gentle and while giving yourself grace and mercy for not having everything figured out right now. We're gonna break the elevator. Big back bitch. If you want to be a furry, be a furry. Like, I don't give a fuck. But this is like a hostage video. We're gonna go to cabaret today. Top tip, don't romanticize your life. Just actually make your fucking life better.
Spread eagle, full back out.